California SB9 is a relatively new law that allows homeowners in California to split their lot into two lots. And when it comes to building wealth through homeownership, SB9 is a game changer. Let me show you exactly why. This is 664 Monterey Road in South Pasadena, California, an 1,858 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1946 built home listed for $1.8 million. And this is 5920 Mad River Road in Dayton, Ohio, an 1,886 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1960 built home listed for $364,000. Two homes, same size, similar vintage, similar finishes, but the one in California costs $1.5 million more. Why? I'll give you a hint. It's not the house. Stick-built construction costs about the same anywhere in the country. It's the land. California land is extremely desirable. Our homes are so expensive not because the houses are special, but because the land is worth so much. And SB9 allows California homeowners to access that value. Thanks to SB9, a California homeowner can divide their lot into two and then sell the undeveloped portion for a significant price. And we'll get into those numbers shortly. Or a homeowner can build another house or even two houses on the new lot and sell the finished product for an even greater sum. A lot of profitable options open up when you become aware of what's possible under SB9. So in this video, we're talking to California's leading SB9 services firm, Riechers Engineering. Riechers submitted their first SB9 lot split application on the day SB9 became law, and they've completed 180 projects since. In this SB9 A to Z interview, we're discussing what properties qualify for SB9, how long the process takes, how much it costs, and how much a homeowner can reasonably expect to gain from their new lot. Then we cover how Riechers Engineering takes on all the risk by fronting the costs of their clients' lot splits until the split is approved, and how you can get started with a free eligibility check. And stick around to the end when I'll share how you can save $1,000 off of Riechers services. If you're curious about pursuing an SB9 lot split on your current or future property, this video is packed with information and savings you don't want to miss. I'm Jon Schwartz, your 1% commission California realtor. Guys, it's 2025, maybe even 2026 or later when you're watching this video. Don't pay your agent like it's 1990. Working with a lower commission, full-service agent saves you tens of thousands of dollars while giving you all the guidance and security you need through the offer and escrow process. Learn more at my website, jonsch.com. That's JONSCH.com. And without further ado, here's my conversation about SB9 lot splits with Gloria Riechers of Riechers Engineering. We're here with Gloria Riechers of Riechers Engineering. Let's just jump right into it. What is SB9 and what does it allow a homeowner to do?
Yeah, thanks for having me here, John. SB9 stands for Senate Bill 9, and it is a California state law which applies to all cities and counties within the state. And it allows for single-family residential homeowners to subdivide their property into two separate real estate assets. So it's an incredible opportunity for homeowners to increase their property equity, create a separate real estate asset, and also increase the buildability of their current property.
You just gave some reasons, but can you explain more why a homeowner would want to split their lot into two?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main reason is for simply an increase in property equity. Doing the lot split alone, you create a new real estate asset. You're looking at about 25 to 35% increase in property value simply by doing the lot split without any development. And then another huge benefit is you're allowed to develop the property more than if you didn't do the split. So traditionally, someone with a single family residential property could just have one ADU and one JADU all on one property. But when you do the lot split, then you have two properties and you can build up to two homes on both lots. And you're no longer restricted to ADU size. So the 1,200 square foot ADU restriction doesn't apply anymore. Your only restriction is based on setbacks and floor area ratio. But essentially, you can build quite a bit more now with the SB9 versus just doing simply an ADU.
How long does an SB9 lot split take?
It really depends on the jurisdiction. We're seeing it vary pretty wildly. In certain jurisdictions, it's as little as 7 months. And for areas like City of LA, we're looking at closer to a year and a half or 2 years. It's been pretty
Wow.
painfully slow in those jurisdictions. When we started the business, we had very hopeful thinking. We thought it would take maybe like 3 or 4 months to get these approved because
Hmm.
it is a ministerial process. The state law is written such that it is approved ministerially. There's no discretion, there's no neighborhood approval process, there's no public hearing. So the state law is written like, if you meet these criteria, we're just going to approve the lot split. But a lot of what we do is educating the planning departments on how to process these new lot splits because they're not yet familiar. And so, like I said, in an LA area, it can be kind of a slow drudging process. But in general, I would say 9 to 15 months.
And what actually happens in those 9 to 15 months? Like what has to be achieved for the city or county or state to
hmm
produce the new map that shows the two different lots?
hmm Yeah, so it is processed on the city or county level, depending on
Hmm.
whether the property is within an incorporated or unincorporated area. And the work that we do as a lot split service firm, we take care of the entire process from start until finish. So that looks like at the start doing a really thorough feasibility analysis. We have our civil engineers dive deep into about 15 different criteria to make sure it qualifies for the state law. We will prepare all the application documents. We will order a title report. We will do map drafting to draw up the lot layout, making sure it meets the state criteria. We will also double check utilities. We need to make sure that there can be separate utilities on the new parcel. And then we will submit all the applications to the city or the county. And then we have about 300 touch points with the planning department over that 9 to 15 month period where we are going back and forth with them, with the city engineers, public works, just to make sure that they have everything that they need. So there is a lot of correspondence with the planning department. Then once we get the tentative map approved, then we do a topographic survey, we do a boundary survey, submit the final parcel map, again, do another long-term back and forth with the planning department, and then we get final map approved. And then the final step is to record the map with the county. That always happens on the county level. Once we record the map, that's when the homeowner technically owns two separate parcels and they could sell that second property that day if they wanted to.
So SB9 only applies to single family residential properties. Can any single family lot be subdivided through SB9?
Not exactly. There's 10 to 15 different criteria to look at. One of the major ones is it needs to be in an urban area. So if you're out in the boonies, up in the mountains, it most likely will not apply to you. Must be in an urban area. It must be zoned single family residential. You must have at least 40% area that could be split off. Now, I want to be clear here that somebody might have two buildings on their property taking up almost the entire property, and it could still be eligible because you can kind of split it in the middle. But if you have one home taking up almost the entire property, that probably won't be a good candidate because we need at least 40% of the total area to subdivide off into the second lot. Some other criteria are critical habitat. If there's critical habitat or wetlands, we may need to do a biological assessment. And then if it's very high fire zone, that's also something that doesn't make it ineligible, but we do need to make sure it has all the fire mitigation measures present. So there's quite a few little things, but I would say the main qualifiers are urban area and single family residential zoning.
What are the requirements on the homeowner if the homeowner wants to pursue an SB9 lot split?
The one requirement is the owner occupancy affidavit. And this is a document that a homeowner will sign stating that they intend to reside on one of the properties for 3 years after the lot split is finished. The key word is intend. It's kind of a gray area word there, but as long as the homeowner has the potential intention to be living on the property, then they're good to go. They can change their minds. That's okay. If someone decides to move, that's fine. But that's the main requirement is owner occupancy. However, I will say there's a couple jurisdictions that allow a tenant to sign the affidavit instead. So if you have a tenant living on the property, they could probably sign that agreement. And other than that, if you have a second residence on the new parcel, they will be required to have separate utilities connecting onto that second parcel. If it's just creating a vacant lot, they probably will not be required to have utilities connected right away. One other requirement is one off-street parking space per parcel if they're not within a half mile of a bus stop.
Hmm.
And besides that, there's really no other requirements. Yeah, no other requirements to complete the lot split.
Got it. If if
Mhm.
if a homeowner or even a home buyer who's looking at property and thinking about SB9 as a future option, um, if one of those types is assessing whether their property is a good SB9 candidate in terms of maximizing equity, what kind of properties have the best, equity potential
Mhm.
when it comes to doing an SB9 lot split and ending up on the other end, well ahead of where you started equity wise?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it probably doesn't vary too much from just looking at any sort of real estate. What makes real estate valuable is you have views. Are you in a high value area? Do you have access? So, ideally, having separate access is pretty valuable because that maintains privacy. Um, I mean, obviously, having a spacious lot is nice. If there's some properties that we do that is like a very tiny cookie cutter lot that we create, which still can be valuable if you're in a high value density area. But the more space you have to split off is obviously preferable. But yeah, I think it's kind of similar to what you might look at if you're just looking for property in general. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, the fundamentals of real estate are the fundamentals of real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It- uh, So um, I know SB9's been on the books for about 3 years now. Is that correct?
Hmm.
And when SB9 came out, I was super excited, and a lot of the people that I work with were super excited because
Hmm.
we're into ADUs and the other kinds of California specific laws that make ownership in this state unique and potentially very profitable. Since then, it seems like every year I have personally heard less and less about SB9. I have more than one friend who endeavored to do an SB9 lot split and basically just gave up. What has your experience been in the last 3 years in terms of volume and the whether you've been seeing more lot splits recently or whether it's been slowing
Hmm.
down since the law took effect?
Mhm. That's a great question. Yeah, maybe you haven't heard of it because they've all been coming to us.
Well,
It's
I'm not
our
an
little
engineering firm,
secret.
so I wouldn't expect.
No, I mean, I think that's fair. I think there has been a lot less takeoff than everyone expected and hoped, and I think it's because plenty of departments have been so slow to pick up and accept the new law. It's been kind of like pulling teeth at times. Um, But we have seen a steady increase in volume ever since the beginning. We submitted our first projects on the day it was passed, and since then, we've done about 180 lot split projects. We've definitely become the experts in the field because it's all that we do, and it's all that we've done since the law came into being. So a lot of people know us for this niche.
180 projects, that's a lot. And it seems like with so many layers of bureaucracy, so many months of hurdles to get through, I'm sure there's a failure rate. Or to put a more positive spin on it, there's a success rate. What is the success rate of SB9 lot splits? How many homeowners actually get
Mhm,
their lot split?
mhm. We've definitely got a lot more discerning. At the beginning, we just kinda took on any client that that came to us. And now we do realize that there is a failure rate and there is a risk that we take on our end because we're investing our own capital into the project. So we're much more discerning now at doing a really, really thorough feasibility check at the outstart. So now I would say our failure rate, or I would say like our success rate, is about 85%. And then the 15% of projects that don't make it, we typically know within the first month and a half, I'd say.
And you mentioned that you
Mhm.
take on the risk, which we'll talk about in a second. But first, let's talk about the money aspect in general.
Mhm.
Um, what would it cost a homeowner to pursue a lot split through Riechers Engineering?
Mhm. Yeah, again, it depends a bit on the jurisdiction, on the property, on the complexity, and the risk that we perceive. So the quotes vary between, I would say, about 50 to $75,000, and that includes all of the hard costs associated with the lot split. That includes the surveys, the civil engineering, the map drafting, the city or county fees, recording fees, all the project management, all the paper pushing, and all that work. Um, what it does not include is any sort of construction or connecting utilities. So you're looking at about 50 to 75,000 for the lot split, and then potentially another 15,000 to connect utilities to the new lot.
And you mentioned that you're seeing on average an equity gain of 25 to 35% of the like pre-existing value of the property.
Yeah. So typically our clients, we work with clients who have properties that are at least $700,000 of value, and so typically we're seeing our clients have at least $300,000 equity gain after the lot
Hmm.
split fees, so it's significant for a year and a half. Our clients don't have to do anything pretty much. We take on the majority of the financial risk, and then at the end, they're left with a separate, real estate asset and 300 to $800,000 of increased equity.
Tell me what you mean when you say you take on the financial risk. What
Yeah.
because this is spoiler alert. I already know what the details are here, and I think it's pretty fantastic. So
Mhm.
explain.
Yeah, absolutely, I'm happy to. So there's a small upfront deposit that our clients pay just so they have a little skin in the game and help us start off with our feasibility assessment. But besides that, our company is actually fronting all of the cash to pay for the hard costs and the soft costs for the project. So we're putting in anywhere between $30,000 and $50,000 of our own company's money into our client's project. And besides that small deposit, clients don't actually pay us a another milestone payment until we've gotten approval. So if we don't get tentative map approved for any reason, the clients don't have to pay us or reimburse us for our time spent or money that we've spent into their project. So we want to create some sort of a guarantee because there is a risk involved, and we don't want to be charging for our services unless we're actually, showing up with an approval in hand.
Do you have any stories from past clients of uh, how the lot split went and what they did with their new lot?
Totally. Yeah. So we recently finished a project in Santa Clara, and she had a primary home, and she had an ADU. And we split off the ADU for her. She put the ADU property on the market a month or two ago. It just sold for $1.4 million. So she just got to cash out on this ADU that was otherwise just sitting, a granny home on the lot. So we had another client in Santa Barbara County that had two homes on the property. It was a brother and a sister, each with separate homes. They had inherited the property from their parents, and they wanted to have more independence on the lot, and they wanted to each have their own mortgage. And so we were able to subdivide the property for them, creating two separate properties with two separate loans. And then finally, we had a client in Danville who we just finished subdividing their lot. The new lot is about zero point 0.7 acres. They've got it on the market for $1 million. Hasn't sold yet, but you can see just how much value can be created just by splitting off part of the land that beforehand was not being used at all.
When a homeowner splits their lot and then they have these two lots, how does that affect their property tax bill?
It's a great question and one we get a lot. The good news is there is no tax reassessment. So even though you're increasing your property value by 25 to 35%, you will not get reassessed on that value. So there won't be a reassessment until one day when you decide to sell off one of those parcels. It'll get reassessed and then your property tax will actually diminish because you own less area. Essentially, what happens is your tax bill is just split onto two separate bills for the two APNs. And there's one small increase in tax, which is called a per parcel tax. Every parcel pays the same amount. It's like a bunch of small fees, like a school district fee, mosquito fee. So there's one tiny incremental increase, but the bulk of property taxes based on value does not get impacted by the lot split.
And how does splitting one's lot affect their mortgage?
Great question again. So the mortgage is not impacted. There is just a lien that goes over both properties, but the lender is actually not even notified because they're not impacted by the lot split. So there's no bank sign off required. Nothing changes with the mortgage.
Can you tell me a little bit more about Riechers Engineering? Who you are?
Absolutely, yeah. So my dad and I actually started this company. My dad is a retired civil engineer. He used to have a civil engineering firm. He was retired. He heard about SB9 and he got so excited and was like, I can't believe this. This is insane. All these properties in California can now subdivide. He's been a civil engineer for 45 years. So he understood what this meant for value in California. And so I joined him and we created this company together. And yeah, we haven't looked back since. So I'm really grateful to be working with him. We have an incredible team that's really dedicated to what we do, passionate about creating value in California.
Do you think there's anything more difficult than pursuing SB9 lot splits day in and day out for a living? Because it seems like you are taking all of the really difficult work off of homeowners' shoulders. And from what I understand, you show up at the beginning. There's a couple things for homeowners to sign along the way, and then at the end, they have two lots or no bill.
Right. That's a great question. Is there anything worse than doing a SB9 lot split? Let's just say I don't I don't blame people when they start an SB9 lot split project on their own and they quit. We've heard
Hmm.
a lot of horror stories of people being like, "Your fee's too expensive. I'm gonna do it myself." We're like, "Okay, good luck." And then 8 months later, they come crawling back on their knees like, "Please take our project. We'll pay anything." Because if you don't have the specialized knowledge, it's extremely challenging to know because even the planning departments aren't sure what should be required and what is required, what isn't required, and we have this very specialized understanding of the law, and we're like, "Hey, hey, no, you're using old school terminology or requirements that are no longer required." So, for the average layperson to try to take on this project, it's, gonna be a nightmare typically, and it's gonna be arduous and drawn out and financially risky because if someone is taking on this project, they're gonna be forking out the money without any sort of guarantee that they're gonna get approval. So, yeah, our team, is highly specialized in this, and I'm glad I'm not the one specifically doing the legwork with the planning department, but we've got some experts that appear to be enjoying it, so that's good.
And if a homeowner wants to get started, they want to understand if their home is eligible for a lot split, if Rikers is the right company to move forward with, how do they get started?
Yeah, I would recommend if people go to our website, or maybe we'll have a link below, they can do a free eligibility assessment. You just pop in your address, and our team has created a cool eligibility checker tool, which runs about 12 different criteria to check eligibility. And so at least on the surface, you'll know whether it's eligible or not. And then if that looks good, then we'll follow up with you and offer a free consultation call to learn more about you and your property, your desires, and then yeah, we'll walk through the process with the homeowners.
There you have it, SB9 in all of its glory. If you're wondering whether an SB9 lot split might be a great idea for your property, you can follow the link in the description to Riechers Engineering and their free eligibility check. And if you move forward with Riechers to save $1,000 on their services, tell them I sent you. That's really all you have to do. Tell Riechers that Jon Schwartz sent you. Jon Schwartz? Tell Riechers that Jon Schwartz sent you and you want $1,000 off your final bill. I've worked out this special deal just for my audience. And if you're researching SB9 in anticipation of buying a home in California, here's some other research you should see. The California Realtor racket that's duping millions of dollars from California homebuyers every day. Check out my expose and come back weekly for new lessons, tips, and strategies for buying a home in California.